Hey, yeah. Ooh, coming to you real live from WRUE in Tennessee. Well, it's the Scribbling Woman.
Hi, I'm Nancy Rue. I am a scribbling woman, and so are you, and that's why we're having this conversation. Here, we talk about the writerly life that is unique to you, no matter your age, your season, or where you are in your creative journey, even if you don't think you have one yet. You are now an official scribbly, so let's talk. First, a disclaimer. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that we've discussed in the past, but this time we're going to go a little deeper. So grab your shovel. And besides, any real truth deserves some looking back at from time to time. Okay, so we all read Charles Dickens' Great Expectations at some point in our educations, right? Perhaps under duress. We know Pip, the young boy who is led by the very strange and disturbed Miss Havisham to believe that he is to someday marry the beautiful but somewhat snotty Estelle and inherit a fortune. You know, quite frankly, even in high school, I could never understand why he would trust a woman who decades after being left at the altar was still wearing her wedding dress and refusing to have the decayed wedding cake removed. But that is the problem with expectations. If we base them on things that show little hope of panning out, we're headed for disappointment and maybe even worse. Nowhere is that more apparent than in the publishing world. Expecting big traditional houses or New York agents to snap up our debut novels, sometimes that happens, like 0.2% of the time. Mostly, it's like waiting for the crazy lady with the 50-year-old bouquet to come through for us. So does this mean we shouldn't have dreams, shouldn't hope for the big break, shouldn't set our sights high? Well, not at all. But like Pip, we only find true happiness, and in our case, writerly happiness, when we also have a plan for what's real based on those dreams, a plan for what's probable, what's truly possible. And why? Because rejection and disappointment and even disillusionment are inevitable in the writerly life unless we learn to replace expectations with wise intentions. So today, let's explore the difference. Let's leave that poor anorexic, jilted bride behind and look forward to a satisfying writerly life. The first question we need to ask ourselves is, what expectations do we need to let go of? I'm going to suggest 4 kinds, and then you can make these more specific to yourself. First, let's let go of anything that is beyond our control. We can't just decide we're going to be contracted with a traditional house. We don't simply say, this is going to be a bestseller. We don't have the clout to claim Donald Moss is going to be my agent. I have spoken. That doesn't mean we can't dream about it. We just need to stay clear of gauging our success by it. The second thing to let go of is the idea that if we can just get it right, if not actually perfect, we're a shoo-in for the bestseller list. There just are too many factors involved in that status, and not all of them have to do with hard work and great writing. Publishing is incredibly subjective. The reading audience is incredibly fickle. Nothing is guaranteed. 3, let's let go of the mistaken belief that if we can get enough followers on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Substack, and whatever other social media platform opened up 10 minutes ago, we'll be signed on in a heartbeat. It doesn't hurt to have a major social media presence or even a really strong one. It just doesn't guarantee anything. 4, basically, we need to, as we say in the South, turn loose of anything that sells itself as a sure thing. No one can promise all that. No one, not even ourselves. Every week I receive some kind of email saying, we can get you 100 reviews of your latest book. This will only cost you blah, blah. Or you are languishing on your Substack newsletter. We can help you get more subscribers. Simply pay a fee of. So, what then is the point? Do only 0.2% of writers get to be successful and the rest of us are just hobbyists? Oh, heck no. The beauty of the writerly life is that we each have the freedom to determine what success means for us and set our intentions based on that. This is an act of creative resistance, and it takes great courage. Now, for some, that means completing the most authentic to them book they can create, just finishing it. What happens after that requires a new intention. For some scribblies, that involves making inclusive space online for people with no sense of belonging, who are afraid that being different is about to become dangerous. Creating a Substack community or a meaningful gathering place on Discord with tons of powerful writing that makes a difference. That can be success for you. For other writerly women, success means a collection of poetry or a series of short stories or a sequence of essays for a niche audience. Those people who want to write Agatha Christie fan fiction or want to study underwater basket weaving. Whatever it is, if you meet the needs of a specific community, that is success. For many, and I hope for most of us, storytelling or any kind of writing is simply done for the joy of it. If that intention is fulfilled, success has already been realized. It doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion or permission or validation. What a concept, right? Now, the next question is, what do we need to detach from in order to set those kinds of personally meaningful intentions? Well, I think there are three things. One, anything that burns us out. So trying to post on 4 different venues every single day. Showing up at every vendor within a 100-mile radius to sell our indie published books. Going from one writer's conference to another, pitching our project until our savings account is drained and we're exhausted. Attempting to keep up with the trends, hoping we can write something that will fit those before they die out and something new shiny takes the publishing spotlight. We cannot create when we're stretched to our very limits. We just can't. Secondly, when it comes to detaching, we need to let go of any expectation that will paralyze us when it's not met. Recently, a writer friend of mine entered a contest that she was pretty sure of winning, if not placing. When she didn't even make the cut, she couldn't write anything for months after that. A young former client of mine met in person with a publisher who showed great enthusiasm for her project. But when he took it to the pub board, they declined, and she never submitted it again. Another client of mine signed with an agent and expected, okay, now I'm going to be published. When after a year there were no nibbles and the agent let them go, they determined that their career was over. And basically, they decided it was. It doesn't even take a disappointment that big to make you think that you just aren't a writer. But large or small, dashed expectations are not signs that you should give up, that you should never have started in the first place. We are not Miss Havisham. And 3, let's detach from any goal that someone else has told us we should set, any litmus test for success established by somebody other than ourselves. Like, sign on with an influential agent. Get a publishing contract with a traditional house, preferably a big one. Establish a social media presence with at least 10K followers. Make the bestseller list. Win prestigious awards. Expecting that if you work hard enough, those goals will be reached, and if they're not, you're a failure. Yeah, let's give all that up. It's not realistic. It's definitely not authentic. And what you do have to offer will not be there for the people who do need it. Now, once we've shaken all that off like a wet dog, it's time for some healthy intentions, that personal expectancy that will fulfill both us and the people we write for. So how do we do that? We start by being completely honest with ourselves about what makes us happy as writers. Not what we settle for, not the consolation prize because we're not a big name. No, what our soul wants. what sets us free, that creative endeavor that thrums within us, that makes us glad to wake up in the morning so we can get to it after our coffee. That book or collection or online group we think about all the time that makes us lose track of conversations and stops us in the cereal aisle staring at the Cheerios because another piece of it just dropped into place. That requires some deep attention to who we are. And it has always been the way of the writer. Harper Lee, who of course wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, and Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind, each wrote only one book, a book that expressed who they are and what they wanted to say. They didn't succumb to the pressure to keep producing, to keep cranking them out. William Paul Young self-published The Shack because he wanted to portray a more inclusive view of God. He never expected that to become a phenomenon. Emily Dickinson's poetry was largely unpublished during her lifetime. Most of her, count them, 1,800 poems were kept private until years after her death in 1886. The complete poems weren't published until 1998. This reclusive woman had neither the desire for nor the expectation of the fame that came to her. But where would some of us be without some Emily? Once we know what truly lives in us and wants to come out, then we need to stay true to our values. So really, is making money as a writer the most important thing? Is that why we write? Is that what we expect of it, or we can't respect ourselves as creatives? Or is that simply late-stage capitalism hissing at us? Truly, is maintaining those media or sales numbers uppermost on our core of values? Do clicks and likes actually mean that much to us? Or are we more interested in speaking truth, creating beauty, encouraging authenticity, exposing injustices? If we do that, no matter what scale, are we not innately successful? What is it that we are passionate about? What pulls us by some mystical force to the page or the keyboard? That is what we value. That is why we write. We can expect ourselves to do that. So with that firmly in place, we then have to refuse to compare ourselves to anyone else and their definition of success. This is very difficult, especially for women, to do. We are constantly comparing our bodies, our makeup, our popularity to other women. Now it's time to focus elsewhere. So that woman in your writers group has an agent. Good for her. Ask her how she did it. Your roommate at the writers' conference just got a request to send in 100 pages of her manuscript. Buy her a coffee. Celebrate with her. That email you just received from AI saying your podcast is not serving a purpose without 20,000 followers, but they can get those for you for a fee. Thank your 67 subscribers and give them all you've got. You do you. Do the best you that you can. I've started saying, this is how I Nancy. So fill in your own blank. This is how I Colleen. This is how I Michelle. This is how I Abigail. Take that to the limit. That is an intention worth working toward. Now, this doesn't mean stay right here in your current cozy spot. Set intentions that help you stretch and grow. So last month, you wrote 4 chapters. Maybe this month, can you write 5? You finished a short story. Could a novella be on the horizon? You've developed your characters. Good on you. Could a plot skeleton be next? You're getting great responses on Facebook. Can you expand now to a newsletter? Just remember that as in yoga, a stretch opens you up. It doesn't give you pain because you tried something you weren't ready for yet. Step by step, move by move. That's how anybody gets anywhere they really want to go. So how do we keep moving toward our intentions where there are no big old markers that say, you did it? There's no contract. There's no check in the bank. There's no award coming your way. We have to establish our own markers, our own milestones. Is it an outline completed, a first draft, a group of committed first readers who've agreed to give you their honest feedback? an increase in your comments on your posts, enough cash from book sales to take yourself to lunch. You get to decide what marks a successful step forward. And then celebrate every little win. Nobody else has to consider it a win, only you. So when I finish a draft, whether it's first or final, I treat myself to a Stampington publication. Nothing like a copy of Bella Grace and a glass of sherry to mark the occasion. Now, being online is not my area of expertise. So when I do nudge myself to try something new out there on social media, I buy myself a cozy mystery from thrift books. Right now, Elizabeth Peters is my current obsession. You can get on Zoom with your fellow writers and raise a glass to the fact that you submitted your query to an agent, or you did a whole week of writing 30 minutes a day. In my experience, fellow scribblies are always up for a toast to the baby steps. It encourages all of us. These are not rewards. This is not a carrot you hold up for yourself. These are the acknowledgement that you are doing this thing, and you deserve that acknowledgement. And of course, always, always practice gratitude. It is so easy to sit around whining about how impossible it is to get published, how harsh your critique group is, to which I say, get yourself a new critique group, how no one wants a good old-fashioned romance anymore. And that gets us where exactly? Good whining doesn't make for good writing. We do get to vent, we don't get to wallow. Instead, can't we be thankful that we've been given this talent that not everybody has? And they don't. They truly don't. Not everybody can do what you do. Can we be thankful that we have something inside us that says, do this creative thing, something we can't ignore? We have a purpose. Not everyone does. It's time to show appreciation for the gift. When someone gives us a present, do we say, I really like this, but what good is it if everybody else doesn't like it? And what about showing some appreciation for the support we get, many of us, from our partners? Here's to you, Jim. From family, from friends, from fellow scribblies. The times when they're fine with a can of soup for supper because we're on a roll, or they take the kids to Walmart so we can work out a plot tangle, or they just get it when we cry over that email that declines our proposal. This writerly life we're constantly cultivating, it's not to be taken for granted, not to be abused because it isn't giving us what society says we should want from it. Let's thank it. Let's appreciate it. Let's honor our writing and ourselves, period. And finally, you got to stay curious and playful. In my view, if the writerly life is in at least 75% delight, it's time to stop and take a look at our expectations and replace them with intentions that make us want to skip, literally or figuratively. That may look like, okay, I'm going to set my intention to enjoy every minute of doing research for this story. And that means stepping away from Google and AI and getting out there and getting some of it on me. Or I'm going to have a blast naming my characters after people whose identity no one will ever guess. Or I will do something visually creative to bring back the joy of this project. Draw a map of my world, make a scrapbook for my protagonist, do a photo collection of my ideal nonfiction readers. No one else has control over whether these intentions are fulfilled except us. For once, we are in charge. Now, again, and I can't say it strongly enough, this doesn't mean we can't dream or we shouldn't. Dream big, as long as those dreams are honest, authentic, and true to what you value. As long as they don't depend on the Miss Havishams of the world. Then pursue them in steps so small, they always bring a measure of what success is to you and only you. You know what the irony of all this is? When we let go of those concrete, possibly unattainable expectations, the one thing we can expect is the delightful, satisfying, fulfilling, unexpected. Pretty soon, you'll have an opportunity to really work through this whole issue of expectations and everything else that has to do with the writerly life. On January the 6th, this sort of an interactive companion journal workbooky kind of thing will be made available to you on Amazon and Ingram Spark. I hope that all of you grab yourself a copy, because this will be a way to truly immerse yourself in being the scribbling woman that you are. And until next time, Scribblies, let's scribble on.